Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel. So what we have here and what we're going to go through in this video is the beginnings of customizing one of these vehicles, the Fortnite Whiplash vehicle. That's what we're going to be focusing on. Just to give you a little bit background on my series of cartoon vehicles, I started off with Lightning McQueen, and then I added Deadpool. And this is an RC, and then Danger Mouse, his vehicle is an RC as well. They use the same chassis. So as you can tell, silver wheels, yellow wheels, and the one that I'm going to use for the Whiplash vehicle, orange wheels. Don't let the wheels distract you from, well, they're three different vehicles. Yes, but I've talked about this particular chassis. It's been relabeled. It's been reboxed. It takes on different identities. As far as the mechanics are concerned, it's four-wheel drive, independent suspension, awesome speed, awesome torque, and probably about 40% of my builds and about 90% of my custom builds use this chassis. That's how versatile I found this chassis to be. I'll put the link on the bottom on the description, and also an independent review website that shows you some of the other modifications that this vehicle has taken on. They changed the wheels, they changed the scale, they changed the body, but the mechanics they maintain. So that's one of those things that companies do, is relabel vehicles. It is hobby grade. I consider this hobby grade. It does verge. It kind of lives in its own classification, I want to say, between toy grade and hobby grade. They do kind of save some money on the suspension, and some other, like the batteries. But for the price point, you can find one of these vehicles for about $50. And for the performance and the versatility that I use, I can't really beat that. I haven't found anything else that is remotely close to it. That's why I use it all the time, especially for my mods. And besides that, I'm kind of frugal, right? That's the nice way of saying that I'm on the cheaper side of making custom vehicles. Cheaper sounds weird. I mean, I try to make them durable. So, yeah. But I came across Lightning McQueen. I didn't intend this to be a series of my creations, but I started off with Lightning McQueen. Found him at the Goodwill, and just the look of it, the look of the vehicle. Lightning McQueen, I saw the vehicle before, but this version of it is kind of a rally. They threw on some floodlights. They threw on a roof rack. The look of it, the spoiler, everything about it. I saw it. I got it, and I was very inspired to make it into an RC. It was fairly easy because I didn't have to worry about any of the interior. I just took the shell of the vehicle itself. I took out the existing bottom, and I took some liberties of, maintaining the chassis length of the vehicle itself. I didn't modify anything of the chassis, and I only modified the window for the actual vehicle in order for me to stick in Deadpool. He hangs on for dear life. He does a pretty good job. I've taken this vehicle to the desert, jumps, it's road, and Deadpool hangs on. He lost his weapon one time on a jump, but beyond that, he still hangs on. No problems there. Super fun vehicle. Later on, whenever I create my backyard track, these things are going to be fun, specifically because they're using the same chassis, so they have the same speed. So it's going to come down to who's the better driver. And it's kind of cool that it's red, and then you got blue, and then you got yellow. So it's about picking your own adventure kind of deal, right? Danger Mouse here, same chassis. I didn't modify the chassis as much. The cab is a little bit shallow because they're cartoon figures. So yeah, I believe this figure here, she's from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of the cartoon figures. I think it looked great with the Danger Mouse figure. It's pretty cool. The figures are pretty awesome. The vehicle itself has a lot of room where I didn't have to do too many mods, just two connecting points, and this one does have two D10 pins with posts back here. Um, when I started this custom, I was thinking that I was gonna make this the battery compartment, but it didn't work out that way. Like I say, when I get going with a project, I'm horrible at documenting it and taking notes. It's just when the creative juices start rolling and everything starts falling in place when I'm creating this, I hardly ever stop. I just go along with it. Sometimes I spend hours and hours working on a project because it's flowing so good. Whenever I come across something that's difficult, then I put it down or walk away from it until I could figure out and solve the problem. So the process of this, I'll try to document it as closely as possible. It should be fairly easy. This is a cartoon vehicle, Whiplash from Fortnite. Awesome series. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of their toys. I'm glad that they made 1/18 scale, and they also made 1/12 scale figures. Super cool. Kind of like the cartoon version of Mad Max, which is awesome. It's still playful. It's not too serious, but it's pretty violent, which is pretty cool. Kind of like my Lightning McQueen version. Deadpool is a violent, sadistic, crazy figure, and just overall character, and then matching it up with something like Lightning McQueen. It's kind of playful in the same Deadpool sense, right? So going back to this, this vehicle is fairly cheap, $20 at Amazon at the moment. It's still being sold. Comes with one figure, 1/18 scale figure. I believe his name is X Lord. $20, you can't really beat it, and it has opening doors, which I thought was way cool. You know, it's toy grade. Of course, it's toy. It's not intended to be anything other than that. But those opening doors, you hardly ever get vehicles that have opening doors in this scale, which is cool. But I think I found this one at Goodwill, so I picked it up, and of course, it fits in way cool with my Danger Mouse and my Lightning McQueen figure. So of course, that has to become our RC. I am gonna have to take in consideration. Okay, so when I look into making an RC vehicle, custom making it, I have to take into consideration what am I gonna sacrifice. So here you can see the axles, they fall in line almost perfectly. All right. So I'm not gonna have to modify or extend this body, which is awesome. That means that saves me about 2 or 3 hours of work there. So that's good. Another thing that I need to take in consideration is what am I gonna sacrifice? What do I want to sacrifice? This is a 2-seater. Do I want to sacrifice the passenger seat? Of course, I'm not gonna sacrifice the driver's seat. But as you can tell here, this cab is huge. You know, it's made to fit the two figures in there nice and comfortably. There's a lot of space in there, but there's also no space on the bottom. And as far as this being an RC, there is no space. Well, there's hardly any ground clearance, and there's no space between the wheels and the actual body, the fenders of this vehicle. So there's no give. This is not intended to be an off-road vehicle. So I need to take into consideration at that point. I like this vehicle because it offers me a lot of space back here. There's a lot of space and a lot of space up front. Not so much space in the cab, but a lot of space in the back and a lot of space in the front. So I can move all my electronics. Anything that I can move to the back or to the front. Probably looking at moving the electronic box up front and then putting the battery in the back. Because the battery is usually a little bit bigger. And if you could see these posts that I'm probably gonna invert, so the L shape or the Z shape is gonna be inverted, so they're gonna be more towards the inside. So it's gonna create a bracket here for a bigger battery. It will serve dual purpose, because then I could have these posts sticking out from the inside, and then they're gonna naturally bracket a battery there, so it'll hold it snug. That's what I want to look at. So this vehicle has the engine right down the middle, so I might have to sacrifice some of that space inside the middle, depending on how much I'm willing to sacrifice and how uncomfortable or unnaturally the figure is going to sit in there. Got to take a look at that. The tires are very indicative of, it kind of makes a vehicle. As you can see here, with the Lightning McQueen, I took some liberties. The vehicle is cartoonish. These vehicles are cartoonish, so I can take some liberties. They don't really exist. But a happy coincidence was that this chassis came with those silver wheels. I think they fit. The size of the wheel fits. And then I was lucky enough to have one of these versions of the chassis. It was yellow, and the size of the tire just fit. You can see it's not perfect. It's not centrally perfect on that wheel hub, but everything, it seems like it belongs. When I look at it, it's not grossly unscaled or grossly disproportionate. This vehicle is a two-seater. It seems like a little roadster, so it's going to have those smaller tires. This is more of an off-road vehicle. It's going to have these beefy tires, right? So that's what I look for when I'm creating my vehicles. What's the thing that I can sacrifice, and what's the thing that I'm willing to go ahead and kind of give into, or what's indicative of the vehicle that I want to maintain. So the tires, these are some of the tires that I came up with. Just to let you know, I have just tons of tires lying around, so it almost becomes like a scavenger hunt, if you will, a scavenger hunt for the right wheel for the particular project that I'm working. The wheels, I think, are just, they add character to the character. The vehicle is somewhat of a character in itself. So these are the wheels that I come up with. Oddly enough, they're all Playmobil vehicle wheels. The weird thing about Playmobil is that Playmobil is a good toy line. They make good toys. Some of their toys verge on the 1/18 scale, 1/16 scale, which they're pretty interchangeable. If you want to look at that toy line, you can find some vehicles that kind of fit into the 1/18 scale G.I. Joe realm. So I highly encourage you to do so. They make really good tires for their vehicles, even though their vehicles are fairly static. I mean, they're playable, they're toys, but the detail that they get into and the flexibility of their tires, you almost think that they're making RC toys. Some of their toys are RC, but most of their toys that aren't RC, I would say about 10% of their vehicles, no, not even that, 5% of their vehicles, they have some RC lines out there, but all their vehicles usually have these good tires. So I pick them up whenever I can. I find a lot of these, again, at Goodwill, secondhand store, cheap. But these are the ones that I came up with. I'm still debating which ones I'm going to use. The little one, of course, I'm going to use for the front. And then one of these versions, I'm thinking more the street. These scream out street threads. This a little bit more of a off-road grippy tire. So I'm thinking these. They're nice and soft. And now I have to start thinking, how am I going to transfer these tires into this chassis and try to maintain this look? Cartoon vehicle, take some liberties, understandable, but still this vehicle needs to maintain its look. The body, I'm not going to modify other than maybe making some holes for the posts and then maintain the integrity of the Fortnite Whiplash vehicle. I don't want to change it. It looks cool. It's slick looking. It's pudgy. It's still cartoonish, but it's slick looking. It still looks like a badass vehicle. Pardon the language. So when I look at creating it, one of the other things that I need to take in consideration is the width of this chassis that I'm working with. So the chassis itself, if I'm lining it up with the connecting screws, not necessarily the tire, because these tires are gonna go out the window, right? Because I'm gonna add these tires. So when I'm looking at it, I need to take in consideration the connecting point, which is that screw, is pushed in. All right, there's still room in there, so I'm looking at about 5 1/8 for the connecting point. I look at this vehicle and I look at the measurement of this tire. Up front is 4 7/8, so that's a problem. But when I look at the back, because this vehicle is wider in the back, it's 5 1/16, almost perfect. So now the struggle is going to become these front tires. I need to put this little small tire as deep as possible. So that screw might actually be sticking out just a little bit off that silhouette. So it might be sticking out just a tiny bit. Or these tires might be sticking out just a tiny bit. But they're gonna be pushing the limit of what I want to maintain the look at. The aesthetics of this vehicle. The fenders. I think I'm gonna have to reduce these fenders. I might have to remove. It looks like this black portion of the vehicle can be removed, so I might actually remove some of this fender in order for me to get more room for that suspension. I like suspension. I mean, when I take these vehicles out and they take jumps, you kind of need that suspension to maintain that the control over the vehicle. Besides maintaining the function of the vehicle, it looks cool. I mean, when they bounce around, it just looks cool. And I hate getting rid of that. So yeah, I might have to take a little bit of that fender. I like that it's black, so it's gonna kind of look like it's gonna be negligible as far as the look of it, because the tire's black, so the fender's black, so there's gonna be some. I think I'm gonna be able to get away with reducing this fender size and putting that wheel in there and still maintaining the aesthetics of it. That's going to be a sacrifice. That's probably going to be one of my sacrifices as far as the vehicle is concerned, in order for me to make it into an RC. But I don't want to sacrifice being able to put in two figures in there. I think that's awesome, and I might have to sacrifice a little bit of space in here in order for that to compensate for that motor to go ahead and stick through. I can reduce all this material and still maintain the integrity of this vehicle. That's my plan. I don't know if it's gonna come through. Like I said, I'm gonna try to document it. For you folks out there that love the game and want one of these Whiplash vehicles into an RC, man, it would be fun. I mean, I think you folks would have fun with it, and it would just be putting the video game into like a real life little RC for you folks, and hopefully when I make these videos, it makes it where you folks can create your own. I'm gonna put, like I said, I'm gonna put that description where you can find this vehicle, and then walk you through the process. That way you folks can create your own. All right, folks, that's it for this video. Hopefully it's giving you some insight and some knowledge on my way of thinking as far as building this. Just because I say this is how I do it doesn't mean that's the only way of doing it. There's a lot of custom people out there. There's a lot of custom RC makers out there. I definitely suggest you check out their videos and pick up hints here and there. Whatever works for you, what doesn't work for you, you take it as you need it, right? And if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to shoot me a message on the YouTube channel, and I'll try to answer it. If I don't answer and it's been like a month or two, send me another one. By no means am I gonna feel like, it's just sometimes there's sometimes that I don't check my YouTube channel or my messages. So keep on asking, and then I'll definitely get to you. Usually it doesn't take that long. So bear with me, okay? All right, folks. Hopefully we'll see you at the channel again, and have fun out there.